What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. So, over the years that I've had this channel, I've spoken about a bunch of different things regarding prison life, right? And you know what's funny is I listen to you guys when you guys say, "Hey, put out more prison content, put out more prison content," and then every now and then there's that guy, "Oh, this guy's just stuck in prison." I'm giving you guys what you want, but there's that one guy, old Debbie Downer. But anyways, Debbie Downer, this is for you. It's another one. So throughout the years, I've been asked a lot of times, how come you don't do anything on the Paisas? When are you going to talk about the Paisas? When are you going to show love to the Paisas? So today, we're not going to talk about the Paisas. No, I'm just playing. Today we are. Here's the day. And I try to, when I talk about prison, I never try to glorify it. I'm giving you a glimpse into my life experiences. That's all I can do, right? Now, the Paisa thing, here's what I want to start with, because it's always controversial, right? It's frustrating and hilarious at the same time when I read that whites and Southern Mexicans rock with each other. They always rock with each other, and they rock with each other. And then, like when I did a reaction video on my other channel, the liar on Joe Rogan, they're like, you're lying, you know, the whites and the Southerners, the skins and the Southerners. And I always tell people when I do respond to it, give me the incident, the prison, and the year where the Southerners and whites on a level 4 moved in unison on arrival. Let me know that. I'll wait. But you can, I promise you can find a lot of incidents where the Southerners and the whites actually went to war against each other, battled with each other. And I'm not saying this to create division, because that's not what this channel is about. But it's just funny how people always bring that up. And it's like the whites and the Southerners have a dysfunctional relationship where they interact with each other better than anyone else other than the Bulldogs. Now there's a different thing, but I'm not in there now, right? But people forget when they think of raza and whites working in unison together, those were factions of legends that I don't speak about in the 60s and 70s. And then, unfortunately, they were all removed to the SHU, and they were slammed down in the SHU. And there was different groups that were out there that were not organized crime, they were just disruptive groups. And yet people to this day attribute the things from the 60s and the 70s to what was really going on in like the 90s and the 2000s. They're separate things, separate groups. But Hollywood will have you believe that's not true. And a bunch of old sucker fishes suck it up without a straw. Now, that said, the one group that I saw and that I was aware of that would move with the Southerners, the Southern raza, is the Paisas. Now, let me clarify this. The Paisas, just like on the streets, they're quiet. They're not in there trying to get in nobody's mix. They do their thing. They mind their business. If there was an issue between the South and the North, the Paisas played no part in it. If there was an issue between the South and the Bulldogs, the Paisas stayed out of it. If whites or blacks had an issue with Southerners, the Paisas would get involved. And if the whites or the blacks had an issue with the Paisas, the Southerners would get involved. So the Paisas never got involved in internal Mexican disputes within the Mexican factions out here in California. But when it was racial, they would. I'll tell you about a story, an incident that was a trip to me. So when I was on my way back to Pelican Bay, it was me and it was a vato from San Diego who was my celly, who wound up selling up in the shoe. And there was a paisa with us from Chicali, right? And we were in San Quentin on a layover. They had brought us out of East Block where they had us sleep overnight, right? And they had us in R&R waiting for the bus. And anybody that's been to San Quentin, R&R, you already know it's a bunch of chain link fences inside there that have, you know, your different holding cells. They're pretty big, right? And so they had, when you first go in and you turn to the left, there's that first tank, and that's the dudes that are going to be paroling, usually, in the morning. We were in the tank directly next to that, right? So they brought in all these dudes while we're waiting. They bring in all these vatos. And they're filling it up, and they're giving them their dress outs, and these dudes are all getting dressed, but somehow they had tobacco. The homie from San Diego told Chicali, he said, hey, get at them paisas right there and get at your paisanos and ask them if we can get some fucking frajos and shit. So he's like, all right. So he walks over to the chain link fence, and we, you know, went to the other side, and we're bullshitting, but we're listening. And he introduces himself, and they're like, you're a paisa? And he was like, yeah. You know, told him where he's from, and he was like, they go, aren't they from, you know, he said a term that we're not going to use, but basically from Southern California. And he goes, yeah. And he's like, hey, listen, if you go out to the yard here, mind you, it's San Quentin level 2, but he's like, if you go out here to this yard, he's like, I'm not going to that yard, I'm going to Pelican Bay. He's like, no, but I'm telling you, if you go out here, the paisas are going to get you, because right here in this prison, we're with the raza from Northern California. And it blew Chicali's mind, and ours as well. And he was telling them, like, hey, it's not how it is in the level 4s. So I don't know how things are in different levels, but I know on every level 4 180, the paisas and the Southerners look out for each other. I've seen the paisas handle business. I've seen them get off in riots. I don't know what I could really add to it. You know, in prison, it's just like when people ask me, well, what if you're a resident? Or what if you're from out of state and you go to California? And I tell everybody the same thing. It doesn't matter where you're from. What matters is how you carry yourself. Everyone behind them walls that carries themselves like a man is treated like a man. As soon as you start acting any other way, and remember, gossip, it's not a manly trait. Sticking your nose in other people's business, it's not a manly trait. Those things get you hurt, get you in trouble. The paisas are never really that deep on the yard, but they're always out there. They get their table and they hold it down, just like everybody else on the yard has to. Like I said, they're quiet, they're humble. I used to gamble with them now and then. I used to like gambling the Asians more, though. They had good money. There were some that would get into politicking, you know, and everybody knows the politic game. It's cold. It's treacherous. There are vatos that were from barrios that come in and they would run Paisa because they were born in Mexico, and that's who they chose to be with. That's who they were more comfortable with. But like I said, the Paisas and the Southerners, when something big's going down, they'll go together. There's also residents. If they're Paisas, but maybe they were born in Mexico, but their family brought them here when they were 2 or 3 years old. They speak perfect Spanish, perfect English as well as perfect Spanish. But because they don't gangbang, they too will choose to run Paisa. It's more comfortable for them. And again, as long as they conduct themselves like men, like everybody's expected to, no matter what in prison, they don't have a problem. It doesn't matter who you are. I can't reiterate it enough. As soon as you start talking about stuff that is not your business, you have entered a place of no return. So anyways, that's my little spiel on the Paisas. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Those of you that have been asking me, there's really nothing more I can add. It's just like if I talked about the whites, I can tell you certain things about them, but and that's what's always funny to me. People that are from other groups and they speak as if they're experts on other groups, and it's like, damn, where'd you learn all that? But it is what it is. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell the ones you love that you love them. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed, and share this with somebody who you think would enjoy it. I'll holler at you. I'm out.